Hello, everybody, and welcome to 2 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Anthony Wheeler.
I'm Lee White. All three of us.
All
two of us are professional illustrators, and for the last 25 years, we have worked with every major publisher and publication in the biz. We've published over 50 books and have taught illustration at major universities. Each week, we tackle a subject related to illustration from 3 perspectives, typically, but today is going to be 2. Sometimes we argue, sometimes we agree, but every time you learn something brand spanking new.
So elephant in the room, it's just you and I. It's just 2 point perspective. One of the more underutilized perspective techniques.
That's right. The reason that it is 2 point perspective today, I'll just go ahead and clear that up because everybody's going to ask in the questions on YouTube. Will was supposed to be here, but his huge game order came in from wherever he was having it printed, and he had to be there wherever that drop-off point was.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's hard to get, and there's fees involved and all that stuff. So he was going to be here, and then he got the call that it's in. So Anthony and I are trudging on.
Yeah, trudging.
We're honestly the best 2 anyway.
We're the 2 most extroverted who do this. So
That's true. And we live near each other, so our internet connection's better.
It is, but the thing is, we talked about actually doing this in person. We have almost a foot of snow outside right now, and and all the kids are home right now, so it's gonna be.
Were you shocked? I did not know. I knew we were gonna get some snow. It started snowing a little bit last night, but I had no idea that it was going to be like a real snow.
No, I as a guy who doesn't have a real job, I have, if I didn't have these kids, all 3 of them, I wouldn't know what day of the week it was. So I was perplexed when I went to bed. I was like, oh, it's snowing. Oh, that's cool. I woke up this morning, saw a foot. I was like, yep, I don't think the kids are going to school today. So, man, how have you been outside of all of the other stuff? Now, the behind the scenes is like Lee and I get to hang out, and we do a Freaky Friday Draw Along event every couple of weeks. Over at SVSLEARN.com. So we get to talk to each other. But catch me up on anything new. How's the skate ramp?
Dude, the skate ramp is awesome. So this is week 3 now on it. Mm-hmm. And it's the first 2 weeks were, I mean, I could still do stuff, but I was nervous about it. It just felt uncomfortable a little bit, getting, the comfortability back, I guess. But after week 3, all of a sudden, everything is clicking literally and grinding and like all this stuff's coming back, including new stuff. So it's really fun. Actually, this could be a teachable moment because I saw a great quote on Instagram, and it's something that I've sort of noticed over the last 3 weeks. The quote is from, do you know that, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was in that movie Free Solo, Alex.
Handhold.
Yeah.
Handhold. Yeah,
I consider he and I to be similar. I mean, he's he's free soloing, half dome. I'm riding a 2.5 foot tall ramp in my basement. Same thing.
In your basement with 8-foot ceilings.
But the quote was really good. He was saying that he thinks it's healthy for people to have, especially adults, to have a certain amount of fear, like real fear, in their life. That not necessarily doesn't have to be, I'm going to die if I do this, but to him, that's his scale. My scale is much lower than that. But dealing with a certain amount of fear in reality, like I could get hurt if I do this. It's sort of why I like mountain bikes and skateboarding and snowboarding and all that extreme sports stuff. Because what he was saying is, once you do that, and you realize it sort of puts things in perspective and priorities, and you come back to regular life and, somebody cut in front of me in line. Somebody cut me off on the freeway. He's like, yep, that doesn't matter at all.
Yep.
And I thought it was great because I've noticed that riding the ramp, there is a certain level of fear, especially as I'm getting more comfortable and trying new stuff, that there's always this kind of oh my gosh, I could get hurt if I do this. And then when I come to go do my illustration stuff, and I'm building this watercolor class right now, there's just a certain amount of calm that I don't normally have. I think maybe it helps people with ADHD. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I've never been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure that I've got it. And then it levels everything out. Now, I will say this, I'll add this asterisk. If you stick around till the end, I'm going to talk about petty revenge. And that
Okay, what a non sequitur. You're talking about your skate ramp. You're talking about a guy who free soloed in Yosemite and didn't die, and now you're going to talk about petty revenge.
No, well, the point of that is it makes everything go away. You don't get annoyed. Life just moves a little smoother, and that's true until you make me mad.
I was going to say, you, when we woke up this morning in separate houses, you texted me that one of the very first things that you texted me, I'm trying to find it right now, was how angry you were at a certain neighbor and what you were going to do with your dog's poo. So I love the Zen moment of calm to then immediately moving into a new segment here at 2 Point Perspective.
Well,
of petty
my point
revenge.
is you can be calm in your revenge.
Okay.
So.
Dude, we're going down, dude. We're going down. Gosh.
Anyway, I'll tell that story at the end of the podcast if you guys want to stick around for my ingredients for a good petty revenge. It doesn't involve dog poop anymore. I've got a better, more sophisticated, very, very long game petty revenge on neighbors.
1 Point Perspective next week is going to be wild when you're in the county jail. That is crazy. I will say though, I have in that vein though, like applying a little bit of perspective to some of this stuff. Like today is one of my more stressed out days, and like I'm trying to get a book to press. I've got a huge project launching in June. I've got like all of these things happening, and I have been running around stressed out, and I could tell. And then there was a moment of sort of like just a little bit of clarity where I was like, this is my job. Like for like 3 hours today, I get to hang out with Lee between this and our Freaky Friday event. I have a meeting directly after this with a bunch of really good people who help me out with stuff. Like my life is pretty okay.
Yeah, this stuff is not that hard. No. If you look at each activity, I was thinking about that. Each thing is like, I got so much to do, and then I feel stressed out. And then I look at what I have to do. Oh, I need to cut my paper down for my painting. Like, I need to
That was on my actual to-do list yesterday, and it was an action item: cut paper to size. Yeah. And it stressed me out that I had to do it.
See.
Man, we're back in business, guys. Welcome back to 2 Point Perspective. There's a really good question that I want to dive into. So I'm going to read this. I just want to make sure, yes, we can use their name. So this comes from our friend Hannah. How do I pick what project should be my main priority? Should I have multiple projects at a time or just one? I'm going to distill this down here a little bit. But this person says, I've been a long-time listener of the podcast, finally choosing to dive all into chasing my creative dreams and aspirations. I have one major obstacle: time management, prioritization of the work that I should be working on. I currently have a full-time corporate job, juggling everything, keeping up with health and fitness, planning a wedding, moving into a new home, having a social life, and pursuing my dreams. Also, they go on to say further that they deal with or work with ADHD. My biggest obstacle is what do I work on between wanting to do commissions and make more money, finishing my first children's book, which I hope to self-publish, creating smaller pieces or content for social media. My God, Hannah, are you and I the same person? I don't know what to prioritize and devote my time to. With such limited time during the day to work on my pursuits, every minute is valuable. So I guess the big question is, A, thinking about this person in general, but B, how do you prioritize the super duper duper big stuff that I know that you're working on right now, but also some of the small day-to-day stuff that just has to get done to move everything kind of forward?
Yeah. My quick advice is going to be work the quarters and work the gears. That's my lead in for this. That's my hook. I've learned to do
Is that a skateboarding reference? Like
little sound bites.
Okay. No, say it again. Say it again so they can edit it and make it all clearly.
Work the quarters and work the gears. So the quarters system, we've talked a little bit about that on the podcast, and everybody's got a sort of a cycle maybe that works for them in terms of big picture planning. Yeah. For me, the quarter system works fantastic. It happens to line up perfectly with tax season too. That's just a fringe benefit.
Oh, quarters meaning like the first 3 quarters of the month.
For 4 quarters of the year. Yeah. For 3 quarter. Yeah. 3 months is 1 quarter. And that is enough time to do something fairly big, not enough time where it seems overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's the key. Is it needs to be that Goldilocks sweet spot. Because if you say, oh, this year, next year, or let's even make it bigger, like you're going to do, this big 5 series of books, it's going to take 4 years to do the whole thing. That is overwhelming amount of stuff. But if you take a 3-month block and say, I want to get halfway through this graphic novel, I want to get, that's enough time to do a good manuscript for a picture book. It's enough time to redo most of your portfolio, depending on how fast you work. So I love quarters because then I know it settles my mind down because I know I'm working on this now and I'll be working on this other thing then. And so it calms that down because for the ADHD mind, at least mine, I want to do it all at once. And I feel guilty when once I pick one, I sort of feel guilty that I didn't do the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go over there, I try to start doing that. And then I feel guilty I didn't finish the first thing. And it's just this weird thing of half-finished projects and a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay,
the guilt in the art community is so real, isn't it?
Guilt and fear. Yeah, I'm scared to try this thing. I'm scared to do this thing. And then why didn't I do this thing? That's the guilt part of that. It's weird. It's something you got to figure out how to overcome. But for me, man, planning these things in quarters has been just the savior. I don't know how long you plan your stuff out, but again, a quarter is enough time for me to build my watercolor workshop, which is coming out next week, by the way, I think, depending on when this thing comes out. I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, but being able to plan it and say, okay, that's what I'm working on right now. Well, what does that mean? That means my tarot deck gets pushed. But as long as I know and I intentionally did that, the fear goes away, the guilt goes away. I know it's coming down the pike. I'm going to finish that project, just not now because I'm doing this other project. Okay, so that's the quarters. That's the big picture stuff. The gears is the daily way I approach things. And this has been a really, really good system. It started with a workout plan. And so I'll start it using that analogy and then apply it to illustration. So bear with me. But I realized when I started working out and trying to get fit and get healthy in 2018, 2019, I realized at first there's like anything, there's a lot of motivation. And then, you go a little bit, you're starting to see results, you're starting to feel good. But then life starts to happen. You get sick, you get overloaded with work, you get family commitments, or just the holidays come in and wreck you. And so there's any number of things that can derail you. And most of the time, that is what derails people. Like you get off the track, you're really doing really good, and then you fall off whatever thing you're on, and then it's over. Like, oh, I didn't keep going, it's over. And I realized there's 4 different versions of, I basically came up with gears, and I'll explain that. The different gears are depending on what is going on in my life and my motivation level. Like a gear 4 would be everything is working perfectly. I feel good. I'm not tired. I have time to work out. There's no pressure on me. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to have a great workout. That's gear 4. That's full steam, right? Mm-hmm. But what happens when something gets in the way? Well, maybe I'm feeling pretty good, but my time is crunched due to whatever reason. I'm going to go down to gear 3 and maybe I'm not going to try to lift as much. Or in the analogy of working out, it would be like, maybe I'm a little tired that day. So I'm not going to hit a personal max or something like that, or I'm pressed for time. So I go down to gear 3. Instead of it being an hour workout with a perfect scenario, it's a 30-minute workout, and I've dialed it back intentionally going in with that dialed back thing. The important thing is I did the thing. Yeah. And then, so say I get sick. Yeah, I showed up, and say I get, so, if 4 is my max potential and I'm feeling great, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger feeling at the gym. Mm-hmm. Level gear 1 is I'm sick. I don't really feel that good. Maybe that gear 1 is a 20-minute walk. Yep. And I did the thing.
You still
showed up. Yep. And by understanding that, again, it takes away the guilt. Oh, I didn't hit I'm not going to hit my max every day. I'm not going to feel great every day. So taking those gears and moving them to illustration. What's a level 4? That's my family's gone. I have no time crunch. I have nothing that's pressing me to do it. And I can just sort of plan my day and just paint and do my thing. But what happens when the other things happen? And so I've scaled my work day down to these different gears. If at my level one is I've got a doctor's appointment, my kid has a basketball game, and I'm not feeling great. Well, can I get 2 hours of good painting or drawing or
Yeah.
whatever my project is?
Mm-hmm.
That's that, and then I do it, and then I feel great about it. It was a level one. It was a gear one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
This is really good advice. It's a really good advice. And again, I think you and I are very similar in sense of, like our fitness journeys and struggling with the priorities of running our own businesses and getting our families involved and just the challenges. Just even today, or even the last few days, we have messaged about this podcast, and this is a thing that we've done 300 times, but getting everything coordinated and getting everybody lined up, and then even still something sort of happens, and you just okay, this is just how it goes, right?
right.
This is just how things are going to happen. For me, I definitely struggle with ADHD. I have it much more under control now. Some of that is medication. Some of that is understanding. Some
Wait,
of
so
that
yours is official? Like you were?
yeah. I went to the doctor. I don't know. It started a year ago, just because I just knew that I wasn't feeling the way that I wanted to, and I knew that over my entire life there was these patterns of behavior that avoidance and procrastination, and then a deadline hits, and boy, can I make something happen? And so I just knew. So I went to talk to my doctor. My doctor was really great about it, and we were able to put together a plan. I'll say though, and I've talked a lot about this on my daily live stream. The medication. I don't feel it turn on. I don't feel it turn off. Some people have that experience with it. I do not have that at all. What I find though is that if I get everything lined up, and this goes back to what Hannah is talking about, if everything is lined up, my exercise is good, my nutrition is really good, I get relatively good sleep. If I prioritize the night before, that is that extra little bit of lift or boost to help me feel really productive during the day. So like today is going to be my most stressful day of the week, and then I have a big event tomorrow. And so like I tried to line up as much as I could yesterday to get me set up for today's success, just knowing how tight everything is going to be. But there's also some days where my brain just isn't going to brain anymore, and I have to sort of recognize like, even with the medication, it just is what
So
it
that's
is.
sort of your gear down. Like
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I'm not fully hitting it today.
Yeah. And I talk often about, like, I used to ride this roller coaster that was super ups and downs. I'm really trying to maintain sort of a really even keel with those bumps, like a really boring roller coaster. But some of that is, it's just age and time and getting support and all sorts of stuff that comes along with it.
Yeah.
For me, from a project standpoint, it's interesting you talk about quarters. I have talked an awful lot about quarters with the team behind me to get certain things done. This year, our quarter system broke down pretty quickly, just knowing the big project that I'm working on for June, which is basically the Chaotic Draw Along Part 2. So this is, we released a card game last year. It's been a success. It does not fully pay my mortgage most months, but we're in the second phase where the draw along is going from a toddler to like a second or third grader. So like we're growing up, and we're growing up really quickly. But we basically have to devote the first 2 quarters of this year to get that big project fully done. And what will happen is we'll be able to launch, we'll be able to drive the revenue, but then we'll have product available for all the rest of the following year, basically, because of this 1 6-month push.
Right.
So I'm putting an enormous amount of effort to get all of that done right now, just knowing it's going to set up my next 18 months worth of business. And that's one of those really big ticket items. And that's really hard. I think for me, splitting up my day into things that as an entrepreneur is like gets me closer to the money. So like, what are the things that are going to help put revenue in your bank account? So whether it is like, and I'm going back to Hannah's question, commissions, selling merchandise, selling prints, stuff like that. Those are not the low hanging fruit, because it's all tough to get, but that's the stuff that you should touch every single day, to make sure that there's a flow of revenue into your bank account that helps you leave your corporate job. In the meantime, though, you have to set aside and prioritize your picture book project because that's the legacy builder. Doing a commission for somebody of their family, of their pet, that's great. But a picture book that you release, that you own, that is your name, that can lead to a much bigger thing, that puts together the start of your creative legacy. And so you have to prioritize that. You just have to be able to spend little bits of time kind of on everything. I personally write a to-do list the night before I go to, or like when I go to bed, for my day, so I know what my schedule is going to be and what I can touch at certain times. And I try to block those things out into time segments too. It's tough again with ADHD. Sometimes you kind of go down a rabbit hole, but I always know what my top 3 major things are before I go to bed. And I try to tackle those as quickly as I can in the morning. And a lot of that will be the big ticket project stuff, because that's when my creative energy is really good. And then I'll dive into some of that other low-hanging fruit, the commissions, the prints, the product, just to try to balance things out. And I know Hannah's probably like, oh, cool, guys, just balance things.
Well, I've got some more specific advice for her, so I'd be curious what you think about it. So yeah, her specific question is the biggest obstacle, she says, is what do I work on? And that's a great question. How that's phrased is interesting because she's sort of answering the question herself. What's the biggest obstacle? What's the biggest thing? If that's the biggest obstacle, what do I work on? What's the biggest thing that you need? This person, Hannah, she's got a full-time job. And I can't remember what else the other stuff she's got going on there.
I mean, getting married, moving house.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So that's all the big ticket items. Like, so using
everything.
my gear analogy, the first thing I would think to myself is, regardless of which project she works on, she's got a full-time job, marriage planning and wedding planning and moving. Those are giant life stressors. I mean, even next to death, those 2 things are the highest stress level you can have. So already my sort of sensors are going off. The alarms are going off like, hey, you are not in a position where you need to be worrying about all this stuff because you're just already in gear 2 or gear 1. That's the highest you could achieve if we're using my gear analogy. Because you're already limited. You've already been, taken down in terms of time. So that should be your first step, is like acknowledge where you are right now. Yeah. And if you want it to be different, that would be my first step, is like, okay, let's get through these big life changes first, before I start really worrying about this stuff. And then, can the full-time corporate job become a less full-time job? It doesn't even mean it has to go from 40 hours a week to 20. It could go from 40 to 30. Now, all of a sudden, you opened up 10 hours. And that can be a gradual plan. It doesn't have to be an immediate thing. Of course, you don't want to add a job change in the middle of a move, in the middle of a wedding, planning for wedding. But that's the first step, is just acknowledge where you are. And you're interested in one of those stages, like just like people who have a new baby or something like that. You're just not going to be as productive as somebody who has no responsibility. It's just not going to happen. So different kind of advice for you. The second thing is, what do you work on when you do get to work on stuff? Because that needs to be acknowledged as well. Well, there's short-term priorities and long-term priorities. The children's book stuff, I agree with Anthony, is thinking of them in different ways. The commissions and stuff are short-term, quick turnaround goals. The children's book is a longer, definitely more drawn-out thing. So let me use my schedule as an exact example of that, because that is the exact thing that I was into. The situation I was into, and I had to make that call. The reason that my tarot deck got pushed back was that I needed short-term revenue. I needed to establish, and even that short-term revenue is its own business. And for me, I realized that for that short-term kind of revenue, not big illustration projects, that's one kind of revenue, but I love teaching and I love watercolor. And so that was my decision. Like, I need short-term income to fund the advertising for the tarot deck. Just like Hannah might need money to fund the time to make a good children's book. Yep. So you lean into the short-term projects first because they're quicker and because they generate a bottom line. Yep. And then you work towards lowering these other time commitments that are taking your time, moving, wedding planning, and job. And you start to bring in that other stuff once you have established some kind of base. And so maybe you do that over quarters. And I don't want to say like every quarter something has to change. There could be
Right.
a big project where you do 2 quarters, but I do think of it that way. I don't think of it as a 6 month project. It's 2 quarter, and I'm just filling it with whatever project that is. So prioritize, acknowledge where you are in life, and everybody has to do that. Everybody's got a different situation, and then acknowledge what's the short-term easier things to get going, what's the longer term things that you can plug away with later. And for somebody who, like I said, who has no responsibilities, those things can happen at the same time. You 3 hours a day on one, 3 hours a day on the other, and boom, you're moving forward. You're not in that position, so you just got to figure that out.
Yeah. 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 I love it. I think that's a really succinct way to look at it. I will share with anybody in the audience too. So I think some folks know I left my day job about 8 years ago. We ran into some health issues on the home front with one of my children, and then we had a death in the family. Then we had COVID. And during that time, it was very easy for me to not give myself grace and also to make excuses for things. And as my career has really taken a turn for the positive in the last 3-4 years, some of the behaviors that I had before, especially making excuses for things, has persisted, and that was part of the reason why I went to the doctor to try to get my ADHD under control. That ability to give yourself a little bit of forgiveness for just the phase or the season of your life that you're in, I think that's really tough to do, but I think you have to do it.
Yeah.
I will say that one of my big regrets, and the thing that I think weighs on me all the time, when we were talking about fears and regrets earlier, is I have had so many good opportunities over this last 8 years to really push my picture book career forward. Getting in the room with an editor at Penguin, and they're like, "Please give us a project and we will buy it." And I couldn't figure out how to even do it. And then I let my anxiety take over. Then I started chasing things that were easy, but not the big picture. And now, 7-8 years later, now I'm in that phase where I'm really building a business. My business is fine. It's good. It helps. But there were times where I had these incredible opportunities that I was chasing the short-term stuff because it was easy, as opposed to really thinking about my long-term longevity in this profession. And so if I can just press upon you, young friend, think about how you can balance stuff really quickly and just touch everything. Because if you're touching every single thing over a week period, not every single day, but if you're touching everything on a consistent way, everything will start to build and build and build, and you will find that you're going to be in a really great spot. If you need to simplify something, simplify your social media. Instead of making really incredible videos, which we just saw on YouTube, just post an image. Just simply post an image, type it in, be done with it, move on. And just know that you touch that thing, you put your token in for your social media for the day, but then you can go back to the other projects so you can continue to build that stuff up. And then hopefully you won't have the same kind of regrets that I do now that I'm 87 years old. So.
Well, what you just touched on is an important point, I think. And the quote that comes to mind is something we've talked a little bit about on the podcast: is you can do anything you want, but you can't do everything you want. And that has been a huge liberator for me. It means sometimes the things that you really do want to do, you just got to say, well, there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many days in the week, and weeks in the year. Like it's this past week, I had to give up my Patreon, and it was a bummer. Really,
yeah, we've talked about that before. Yeah,
I love the Patreon. I love talking to them. I love making stuff for it. But in the day, if I'm doing workshop, my ultimate goal really is to do more different levels of watercolor workshops and to travel doing that. That's kind of my beacon now for my teaching side of my life. It's exhausting to make. So you say, "Oh, I'm going to make a watercolor workshop for beginners." Saying that is one thing. Doing that is quite enough. I thought it was going to take me a week to film the stuff because I know the stuff inside and out, and all I got to do is just show people how to do it. I'm on a month now. And it was, and I'm still filming. I'm filming every single day, and because each time I start filming, I think, oh, I need to explain this other thing because it opens up a whole can of worms. There's just not enough time in the day for me to film for Patreon separately.
Yeah.
And so I just had to level with the people. I said, I just don't have the time. I can't do it. And maybe it'll come back again. But I'm able to sort of scratch that itch anyway with how SVS has changed with the community and stuff. It kind of fulfilled where that pocket for me anyway.
Yeah.
But you just can't do it all, and just got to acknowledge that.
Yeah. I think that I think that shows sort of a big level of respect that not only do you have for the people that support you, but the kind of work that you want to churn out. Like you really could just push out a watercolor workshop in a week, but that's not the kind of guy, again, I don't like to compliment you, but it's not the kind of guy that you are. You want to make sure that those people have the best possible experience. And I had a friend that went through your local watercolor workshop, and he said it was awesome. He said it was just really,
awesome to hear.
really, really awesome.
Well, being able to film it in a digital way and the way that I'm doing this workshop is unique. I think SVS we've experimented with doing video lessons along with live feedback, and that model has just proved so effective. And so through talking with you guys and Sam especially, she's building her workshop, and how this was going to come out was similar to Jake's workshop, where they just Jake's live, he does the lessons, and that's what it is. And I thought, it's not the best way for what I'm doing. So mine is going to come out. It's going to be 2 weeks, every other day the video lessons come out. And then every other day I'm live with the audience. And so the whole time I'm going to be there. It's just a different kind of model. And it has to be a certain way because the instruction out there is so bad. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about with you guys. When you talk about what do you work on and how do you work on it, you got to figure out what problem you're trying to solve. And for me, I've taken watercolor classes. The problem I needed to solve specifically was there's two kinds of classes. There's the artist class, the improvisational jazz master. That's what I call this one, where they just do their magic. It literally looks like magic. And it seems so easy. Like you're watching him going, oh my God, I could easily do that. He just splashed paint on there and it became a city scene.
Yeah,
and then
I've
you
seen
realize,
a few of those courses. Oh.
Yeah, you don't learn anything. That's the improvisational jazz master. And, all art, no teaching. And then there's the other side where it's so technical, and painting can be technical, where they're getting into the nuance of science. It feels like a science class, and I don't want that either. That tightens you up too much, and I realized there's a Goldilocks middle. Yeah. And I was like, that's the class that I would need as a beginner. That's the class that I think most people need. And so that's specifically the problem I set out to solve. Now, notice how that makes it easier. I need to talk about how to do the thing, and then how to loosen up, how to blend both of those sides of technique and art. And so if you, bringing it back to Hannah, figure out what problems are you trying to solve? It makes any project easier because you have a North Star you're kind of aiming at.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Oh, that made me think about something. So, I don't take a lot of commissions. It's not particularly something that I enjoy. I will say though, I've made a business out of, if I'm going to take a commission, it is going to help my portfolio in the future or help me actually push a project. So there are certain things that I like to draw that I think would be great for my agent to be able to take out to somebody. At times, I will make that kind of stuff available to an audience and say, hey, right now I have capacity to draw some landscape scenes with some cool animals or a couple of characters. If you're interested in that, that's what I'm willing to do, because I can not only use that for the commission, but then I can use that for my agent and for my portfolio and stuff. Exactly. And that's moving that ball forward, right? I want to talk. I want to get to some big picture stuff here in a little bit. There was a technical, kind of tactical question that came in, and I want to read this one out. I'm going to hold the name on it for just a second here. This particular person is interested in getting a contract to make a coloring book project, and would really like to work with a major publisher. So in Hannah's case, they were talking about self-publishing. In this person's case, they're talking about wanting to go with one of the big pubs. They're asking, should I contact art directors directly? Would agents be interested in someone who would like to pursue this type of work? can you get an agent that only represents you in the coloring book world? And why are coloring books often left out of the conversation when it comes to a career in illustration? And then there's a little bit of backstory that they have done this kind of work and they really enjoy the line work and that sort of thing. You and I were talking just a little bit about coloring books and stuff like that as part of my big chaotic draw along, sort of the part 2, the electric boogaloo. We have workbooks and smaller coloring book projects that are going to come along with our new prompt decks and things like that. But I am just happy to self-publish that stuff and keep it on my own. You were talking, you've got a little bit of understanding about that market, and can you talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have I haven't done a coloring
Sure.
book, so let me just add that right at the beginning. But from what I know of it, I've got friends that have done them, and I've got friends who are interested in them, and it's a cool little side thing. But the one thing about it is it's almost treated like educational publishing in that if you get a contract, it is a flat fee and it is low. That's the two things about it. I mean, I don't mind either one of those things, but I mean, even if you get your name on there, it's just there's not it's not a great pathway that leads to some other bigger thing. And so I would caution this person, not that you shouldn't like coloring books, but in terms of a business, because she's talking about publishers, she's talking about agents, she's talking about you get an agent involved that they get you a coloring book, you will make nothing because
that agent's going to take their 15%.
Yeah. Oh no, the agent will take 33% on that one because
sure.
that's not a literary agent. So,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, just to clarify that for you guys who don't know what we're talking about there, literary agent is somebody who represents a writer illustrator, and typically that percentage is a 15%, just standard.
Yeah, it's pretty customary.
Yeah, but an illustration agent is all the way up to 33% now.
Yeah.
And so, you already have a low budget. Let's say somebody, a major publisher, maybe the budget's $2,000, and then the agent gets 33% of that. I don't know how long it takes you to do a coloring book, and I hate to talk somebody out of doing the thing they want to do.
Yeah.
But it's just the reason that there's not a lot of information there is because there's not a lot of business there.
Yep. Yeah. If you go to Barnes & Noble, and I realize that people don't all have Barnes & Noble bookstores around them if you live in other parts of the world, but if you go to any major bookseller, and if you compare the shelving that they have for coloring books, it's about one shelf, two shelves.
Right.
And then if you compare that against, kids, like kids stuff, it's an entire section of the store. Or if you have fiction or crime and all, like there's big sections. This tends to be a pretty small thing. In the adult coloring book market, even in the licensed coloring book market, people don't tend to have their creative names on those projects. So like my daughter's got a whole bunch of adult coloring books like Gilmore Girls and Harry Potter. You have no idea who drew those things. You have absolutely
it's
no
the
idea.
rare person that's already established. If they get the deal, then it's going to say the name on the front. People already know who that person is for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so we have a friend that works in sort of licensing activity books, and they work on major licenses like Harry Potter and stuff like that. And those tend to be teams of graphic designers that are kind of distributed all over the place, and that material then gets put into those projects. And so it isn't necessarily one driving force behind it, but But we have to say, though, like not every case is the same, right? And so I think if somebody put together a very strong portfolio, thought about a narrative in terms of the theming and the pieces, and goes to either a publisher or an agent and says, with a very strong case that they've made for themselves with a little bit of gusto, you might have a really cool opportunity in front of you. And I think what Lee is saying too is like just caution in terms of like, is this the big picture item? I don't know. But if you're really good at doing line work stuff, and if you think your work is prime for that kind of material, you're probably going to be good at other stuff too. And that's pretty cool. Because in coloring books, you have to be really strong with your silhouettes, with your characters. Nothing can be mushy. Your lines have to be really thoughtful and well planned. So again, if you can do that, you can do just about anything.
I do think that you should pay attention. I mean, one line in that whole question that she sent does stand out for me. It says, out of all my projects, creating the line work for coloring books is a lot of fun for me, and I would like to expand. What it says to me is that's where she wants to go and just sort of doesn't know how. So by all means, I don't want this person to be discouraged away from the thing that is calling them. So just want to throw that out there. Just because you don't make a ton of money at something doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. I would say go the self-publishing route because you can do whatever you want to, and it can be immediate. I'm checking out this person's website. She didn't say whether we could use it or not, so I think we should put it up there. But you already have enough for a coloring book. I mean, why not go ahead and put out a coloring book? Now, the one thing I will say is the theme doesn't look consistent, and so it would be hard to do this. There's ideas of themes, so you got to pick one of those and run with it. But I would make these things on your own. I'd put them on your website for free download, and then put maybe a book out. If you wanted to group them all together, and that would be if you started getting traction that way, then maybe that's the easiest way to get a publisher involved is to make a coloring book and send it to them.
Yeah. So again, we've been talking about this topic a lot, sort of like behind the scenes with my team and stuff like that. And with my upcoming prompt decks, which have different theming than my customers are typically used to, so we're running with like an old timey carnival theme. We have a magic theme that we're working on. We have been talking a ton about being able to build a product because not everybody wants to draw with our prompt cards. Some people play games with them and things like that. But we've been thinking about it like if somebody goes to our website and they just love that theming so much, we need other projects or other materials for them to be able to buy. Coloring books are relatively inexpensive if you get them printed.
Black and white, baby. Yep.
That's it, right? And then the paper isn't always the thickest paper, but it really works. And so, we've been able to get an incredible amount of quotes that like we would be able to be very profitable very quickly on a small project. And I think what it comes down to, like I'm on Amazon right now. Now, Amazon, you have to keep in mind, right now there's a bunch of AI on there. There's a bunch of people who flood Amazon. So this is not the real world, but maybe it is. But I think the ones that I'm looking at that tend to do well, like there was one that I'm looking at right now that released a year ago. It's got 864 ratings. That means that at least 864 people bought it. But there probably 10,000 more than that actually bought it because not who goes and rates things on Amazon, and if you do, you're a nerd. But I'm kidding. But what I'm noticing on here is that they have theming, and the theming is really strong. So this one's creepy. There's a cute one. There's little girls. There's creepy kawaii. There's witchy vibes. There's things that really speak to a niche. And then you're putting that directly to them. And then, with like Amazon, I'm not the biggest fan in the world, but like you can use their print on demand tools to simplify that project further. And if you have a project like this that takes fire and a big publisher could potentially notice it, want to bring that back in under their umbrella, or you just make a bunch of money on your own. So it's a really good question. I don't think we've ever tackled a question like specifically like that one here.
Yeah. Both these questions were really good today, really applicable. And I love that you guys are thinking about where you want to be specifically. I mean, when we originally started this podcast a long time ago, a couple of years ago, we would get such general questions. I'd like to be an illustrator. What should I do? But you guys are diving deep into this stuff, and that's exactly what you should be doing. Yeah. So hats off to you. It's important to be focused and to be clear on sort of what you like. And what I love about what Andrea said is that she's really paying attention to not just the projects she's doing, but how do I feel when I'm doing them? And that's the indicator for style, in my opinion. Yeah. The style is always the big question. Well, just listen to yourself. Do you enjoy doing something? Or do you look forward to doing something? Yeah. Or do you dread doing something? I mean, it's just because you're good at it doesn't mean you should do it. Doesn't mean that you're going to like it even. So pretty cool to pay attention to that. And it's like find your own style is just listen to yourself and drive that forward. Yeah.
Yeah. And just because two old guys on a podcast say it might be difficult to find an agent who is willing to represent you, that's just two dudes on the internet.
Know nothing about the coloring book market.
Yeah.
Like a general cursory pass.
Yeah.
So, and all this stuff, by the way, I mean, it's actually something that we should talk about is like anytime you're getting advice, I consider that just to be suggestions for further thought. It shouldn't be considered a definite thing. Even if you get a critique from a teacher, for example, don't listen to how you might have a totally different fix than a teacher does, but the important thing is to pay attention to the theme of what they're saying and why they're saying it, not necessarily how to fix it or what you should do.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's a big picture item right there. When you and I started our conversation this morning before we started the recording, you were talking about big picture stuff and kind of maintaining your momentum and getting through. Talk me through that a little bit and let's turn that into a topic here, but because I thought it was really interesting when you brought it up.
Yeah, just big picture motivation. Like, how do you keep going what is that sort of North Star? I think it's a topic that comes up for me more now because I've been doing it a long time. Like I was saying earlier, motivation comes quickly, and then the work starts.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of, I guess, comfort in knowing that now. Like early on, I would get so motivated by something, and it's a real high, right? In the beginning when you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And you're just so excited. Or you're telling people about it. I'm going to do a book. I'm going to do a thing. And
Right.
and then I realized that's when the work sets in, and that's when your enjoyment and the motivation starts to drop a little bit, and you just have to expect that and try to drive through it. But something that has helped me along the way is two things, actually. One is personal experimentation. I never stop. I love technique. I love experimental mark making. It sort of led me to where I am as a watercolorist right now. And I mean, I've got a folder over here. I don't know if you want me to pull it out or not. It's at least 200 pages of just marks. There's not a single recognizable thing. It's just abstract marks on the page, trying to figure out how things work together. If I put this with this, what kind of mark does it make? If it's this wet versus this dry, how does that change it? And so, and I go through phases of sometimes it's that kind of study. Sometimes I'll do master copies, which I'll talk about in just a second. Sometimes I'm just making up stupid images that I think are fun and funny and whimsical, and I just do them for fun. But that drive and that led to, what you were saying earlier is important. You said, you start this project and then you say, okay, where does this thing want to go? How do I get this boulder rolling down the hill? So where it becomes something bigger. That's what became my fine art career. It became my gallery shows. Is I'm playing now and I'm having fun and I enjoy this and I'm going to, and then I realize, if I do that, there's a market for it. But I never stopped that personal exploration, and it's easy to get lost, especially in the context of the questions we had today of career. I need to message this agent. The agent wants to see black and whites only. You get lost in that stuff, and it's a job at that point because you're trying to fulfill all these, or basically check the boxes. Do I have this? Do I have that? Do I have this?
Yeah, that's hard.
It sucks. And at a certain point, you just I would want to make this image. And, maybe for you, it's something that might not even be in style anymore. I want to make a new Dungeons and Dragons set or something. I don't know what it's going to be, but it could be anything. But really just paying attention to that and giving yourself a little bit of time every day to work on those personal things and to just get a kick out of drawing and making marks and stuff like that. And what has facilitated that for me is my Pinterest page. Man, I love Pinterest. Out of all the social medias, and I don't know, I feel like you can't really call Pinterest social media. It's a different thing because people aren't yelling at each other.
You've not gotten to the petty side of Pinterest.
You suck.
Have you?
You suck. I love my Pinterest page because when I go there, I was talking to Will and Jake about this past week, and it's funny because I'm met with equal amounts of inspiration when I go to. I've got two pages in particular that I just load stuff up with. One of them is just an illustration general category page, and the other one's watercolor. but I can go there and I'm just so inspired because people are so good and it gives me ideas and I like to try stuff out. And then I'm also met with a little bit of dread that I know is coming and that I got to keep it at bay, or not dread, but both jealousy and intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looks effortless when you're just looking at the finished picture. You don't see the 100 studies they did to get to that point. But it keeps me experimenting because I see stuff that I want to try. Oh, they painted a character doing something and then how they vignetted it might be something like, oh, that's a really cool. I've never done that before. Or how they use silhouette or a certain color combination. I'll show you one of the pages if you want to see it, because there's this one guy that I was just looking at. In terms of color, I think he's painting in either gouache or oil. I categorize it under watercolor because he's using it in a similar way that I do. But oh my goodness, it's just so different. It's just so good. And so, it just keeps driving me forward. I never lose the idea. I'm 25 years into this career almost, and I like painting and drawing and making these things as much or more than I did in the beginning.
Sometimes it's a satisfaction thing, right? And I think on this podcast and in our personal conversations, we talk a lot about the monetization because, you and I are married, we have children, not together, and houses. You've got 3 Lamborghinis. I have a minivan because I'm not rich. But we talk a lot about the stressors of, oh my God, we have to make a thing today. Otherwise, we're not going to eat in a month or two. And so, I don't know. I think I really want to hear from you outside. If you incorporate those kind of stressors, how do you still find the time to be able to go to Pinterest and dream and be that guy who's like, man, I want to make that gouache mark. How do you do that? Because that's really tough, dude.
Well, but because in my opinion, it's a great question. Actually, I got to think about it for a second. But in my opinion, there is no wasted mark. There is no wasted study. It all ends up in the thing. Some of my best-selling paintings have come from a doodle that I didn't even intend to be a thing. This is the guy that I'm looking at. I don't even know who it is. That's the one bad thing about Pinterest is you don't get a lot of credit. Look at this image, for example. Let me zoom in. That is it is so simple. And yet,
so for those of you in the car on your bicycle right now, he's showing either acrylic or gouache. Really simplistic environments, but they're just gorgeous.
They're almost like paper cutouts, but they have this luminescent quality that I don't know how to do. And so the second, I have a little bit of OCD along with my HD.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me mad that I'm like, what? Well, if he can do it, why can't I do it? And I should be able to do it, but I can't do it. So I need to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
So look how crazy simple these are. If you guys get a chance, check out our YouTube because look at this image. It's so incredibly. It's almost paper cutout in a way, and I find my own interest going to more simplicity as I do this longer and longer. And this guy just kind of hit it. It's not the only thing I look at, but.
It's one of them. It's the constellation of things.
Yeah, and so I think to myself, if you have an A option and a B option, that does it lean towards what I'm doing or lean away from what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. And that's what I think about when I go to Pinterest. Is when I see an image like this, I immediately categorize it as leans toward. That's again my North Star, moving towards that. I see this image by Edward Hopper, and it doesn't do anything for me. It's a fantastic image.
Sure.
But it is completely not what I want to do. So that leans in the away from me category. And so, you do that enough. Here, I'll go to my general watercolor page, and you're definitely going to see a similarity in what's on this page. And let me get to the main page. There we go.
And some of your
and how I work. Forward. These people are absolutely fantastic. They're incredible. Look at
So do you think on the tough days then, the days where you feel really like your back is to the wall, either your creativity is completely gone or you're just worn out. You're at that level one that we were kind of talking about earlier. Do you feel like it's this kind of stuff that helps get you reinvigorated to stay in the fight for the long term? Is finding these
It absolutely
inspirations and trying
does.
to emulate some of that?
Yeah, because you get stuck against the wall. I think you operate in a. I think a lot of people operate in a vacuum. I've seen a lot of illustrators make sort of the same illustration hundreds of times,
Yeah.
and which is fine. If that does it, if that floats your boat, then that's awesome. I'm not one of those people, so I always
Azzy
want
has
to.
a bunch of boat images on his screen right now, guys. I want to point that out. There's a
Yeah,
bunch of boats right there.
well, look at how this person's
And then
using.
you and I are drawing boats in an hour for Freaky Friday too. That's the
Well,
fun part.
that's where it came from. Yeah, that the theme we're doing today is funky boats, and I've got some cool reference images
Yeah.
for boats. But I see an image. Look at these two images juxtaposed next to each other. This is what gets me going. So I've got one image, if I can find it again. Okay, so one image is totally blurred out and like watercolor wet into wet. A simple little landscape that looks like a sort of a cold winter scene, if I could describe it to you guys. Simple. And then next to it is some architecture from what building is that? It's the one that was under construction, Notre
The
Dame.
cathedral. Yeah, Notre
Notre Dame.
Dame. Yeah.
So anyway,
Notre Dame's the
but
football team. Notre Dame is the
Daw.
cathedral.
I got to lean into that pronunciation. But it's all line work, and then so I think to myself, if I combine this and this, what happens? And then that gets me going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Do you have any other advice to try to try to stay in the hunt for the long term during those tough times? So outside of finding really good reference, really inspirational images, things that help invigorate your mind, like what else would you recommend to the up and comer or
oh,
the person who's struggling?
this is the big one. You have to think in terms of themes, not images by themselves. I never do just one. I mean, the minimum I would say is 5. So it's really hard to do a good image, right? It's hard to come up with an image. And then if you're just doing one and you're like, okay, I did that one, I painted this tree, I painted this illustration, whatever. Okay, now you go back to 0. What do I do now? Oh, now I'm going to paint this other thing. It's all disconnected. So I say find your themes. I'm interested in European buildings this week. I'm interested in trolleys this week. I'm interested. I did a whole series of Japan paintings that I'm still not done with, but I did probably 10 of them. And you hang out there for a little while. That's the fun part, and that covers time. It doesn't just keep you searching every day. I always say when I see when I see the drawing of somebody's art table in their sketchbook, they're out of inspiration.
Yeah, on their social media. It's like
Right.
studio tour.
You drew your foot. No.
Yeah.
You need a theme. You need whatever that theme is. I did a theme in college that was really fun. That was people who set stupid world records. And because there's
That's
a
a
lot of
really
them.
fun Freaky Friday too.
Well,
That's
I mean,
a great idea.
there's crazy ones like people who just like have stacked the highest amount of paper, and so there was one, and so I did a series of paintings on these people who did these things. One of the guys had the record for the highest domino stacking, and you don't even think that's a thing, but he was the best at that one thing. Anyway, but that's where that started sticking with me is like it really gets interesting about painting 5 or 6. Then you have a body of work, and if you're just doing image to image, man, that is a tough way to go.
Yeah, I really love the idea of theming, and if we bring it back to the business side of things, and I think this helps, somebody like Hannah, by sticking in those themes and then doing a bunch, 5, 10, 15. Now you've got work that you can put on your website and be able to monetize it and sell it. And people like to buy themed paintings. And so an example over the summer is that we were at a gallery where Lee was sharing his work. And my wife was really into a heavy nautical theme for a thing. And she went and found all of his nautical paintings, like anything that had a boat or a polar bear or a ship captain. And like that is the stuff that she really gravitated towards. And like you could tell, and I think if you look in Lee's first art book, he talks about the theming and where some of these ideas have come from, and that some of them all kind of came together, because you were in that mode. But I mean, she went and she found all of those
Oh, that's awesome.
to buy, and that's the kind of stuff where if you put together a small body of things like that, get them out of your system, or maybe just that's what you just make forever. Put them up on your website, be able to sell them in multiple versions. You've kind of expunged that out of your system, and now it's game time. Now you can go find like buildings in Japan, or for me, like I love to draw skeletons, but I'm kind of burned out on drawing skeleton kids today. And so I've been drawing I should be burned out of drawing skeleton kids all the time. But I've been drawing all sorts of other monsters and things like that. And now I have this big body. I'm working on my second art book. Like I have enough material for a third art book right now. And it's crazy, and it's just like you never know those small day-to-day efforts, how all of that stuff will build and build and build. And then the correct and the right and the direct answers will just be in front of you because it's all been built. And I think that's kind of the theme of this podcast today, is that these small little things that we choose to do on a daily basis will just add up to be the big picture at some point. But it's kind of hard to see the big picture
all the time either,
Yeah. That's for sure. Well, speaking of not knowing where it's going, I want to get to a new segment here on 2 Point Perspective where we talk about petty revenges. So again, I woke up this morning to a message from my friend Lee about a potential argument that he may or may not be in with somebody, allegedly. And then he went into a section of the text message that was talking about petty revenge. And so for a couple of minutes as we wrap up the show, can you talk about petty revenge and when I will have to bail you out of jail?
Okay, so here's the situation that happened. You tell me if maybe I was in the wrong and maybe there's no retribution needed.
Okay.
But petty revenge is just a fun thing. And anyway, okay.
Are you regretting this at all right now?
Okay, here we go. So I'm walking. This is going to sound so stupid to people who aren't in a neighborhood. But if you
aren't in your neighborhood, heated in that moment, yeah.
So we're walking my dogs, and we have this huge. So Highlands Ranch, where I live, is 14 million. It seems like houses right next to each other. It's so big. It's got its own zip code, its own everything.
It's suburbia.
Yeah, but it's great for kids. I mean, there's all kinds of resources, and we live back where I picked to live in this big thing because that's not my favorite kind of place to live. But like I said, it's great for kids, and that's sort of why we did it. The resources there and all that stuff. But I didn't want to be dead center of that, so we picked right at the edge. We're next to like 2,000 open acres of open space, and then there's little open spaces running through all the neighborhoods too, where there's probably 50 miles of pathways and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, green spaces.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, you could go forever on a bike ride and never ride on the same path twice. You can get lost on it so much. So anyway, that's where we try to walk our dogs because the dogs like it, and we don't want the dogs going in the bathroom in people's yards and stuff. And so, most people will just walk their dogs in that open space. Well, we had done that. We had walked for 30 minutes about into this open space. We had circled back. We're now back in the neighborhood walking to my house. Well, my stupid dog didn't go to the bathroom in the open space. He needed to go. And we are responsible dog owners. We do never, even in the open space, we do not leave waste from the dog poop. And so the dog poops in this guy's yard. I mean, we're talking a front yard of like, maybe it's 10 feet deep. I mean, it's a subdivision.
Yeah. These are not massive front yards. Yeah.
So the dog's pooping and we're preparing the bag, and we're just talking. It's me and my wife and our two dogs. And this guy comes storming out already heated. And he's like, I appreciate it if you don't let your dog go to the bathroom there. And I was like, yeah, I'm just kind of taken aback. Like, what? I don't know what to do right here. And my wife said, oh, we're picking it up. He's like, you shouldn't have let the dog go there in the first place. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, the dog has to go to the bathroom. And he's like, I don't let my dog go anywhere. And this is what set it off. He said, I don't let my dog go in any yards. And I was like, well, congratulations on your mind control, but I don't know how to do that.
I like where this is going right now. How do you stop a dog from doing
right?
You can't be like, Buster, don't do that.
There's zero chance of that. So the guy totally blows up on that. And he's like, come over here and say that in my face. He turns into this total, Karen kind of thing, if I can use that term. Come over here and say that in my face. Come over here and say it in my face. And I just started laughing. I was like, oh my God. I was just laughing at him. And
is this your neighbor?
Not my direct neighbor. He's
okay,
just in the
goodness.
neighborhood. We're walking back from the open space. So it's probably a 5-10 minute walk. And then I get mad. Ooh. And I just started yelling back. I was like, just you think you can control your dog? We're responsible dog owners and you can go to hell. I'm just like laid into him like, oh my God, we're going to fight. We are going to fight. And it was just heated like that. But I just got so mad because we're responsible dog owners. You sort of sign the contract when you're in a neighborhood that is this close together. Yeah. We all have to be here together. Yeah. And dogs go to the bathroom in my yard. If somebody doesn't pick it up, that is an entirely different scenario. He's got every right to be.
But you've got the bag in your hand.
Yeah, I don't know what you want me to do. But he just all of a sudden bowed up on me and was like, oh, come over here and say that. And I don't know if it's from being a twin, but like it just turns a switch on me and I just started going off on him. And anyway, so we eventually, of course, just walked off. I was just laughing at him by the end of it because it was so stupid.
Yeah.
But he's so petty that now the petty revenge comes in where I want to sort of just, I don't want to hurt him or anything like that, but I do want to annoy him.
Yeah.
So here's my plan.
Okay. And maybe on the YouTube comments, there's got to be a couple of petty people on YouTube. Maybe you can offer some further suggestions of petty things that Lee can do to this person.
Yeah, I would love to know. But here's my. Well, also, the reason I bring it up is I always question these events later. Was I wrong? Did I do something wrong? Maybe I shouldn't have yelled at him afterwards, but it made me mad. But I don't want to always think, oh, I'm in the right. I like starting argument when I think back on arguments with the perspective of maybe I was wrong. So you guys tell me, was it wrong to have our dog do that? Is there a way to stop a dog from going to the bathroom? I don't know.
No, dog diapers.
Gross. So my revenge that I'm planning, here it is. This is so good because the best revenge is served cold, right? So. And it's got to be petty. It's got to be just annoying enough. So I thought about taking some invasive weed seeds and walking by every day and just sprinkling a little bit more seeds into the yard. Because you can do it with just a quick gesture. And it's so cold here, you're completely bundled up. You can't tell who people are if there's like a ring camera. Because that's the other thing about documentation and all that stuff. You can't see seeds if they land.
Oh, I hate that I'm the adult here.
I'm just saying that's pretty good because by the time spring, here's how this plays out in my head. By the time spring comes, I'm starting to see, as I walk by, I'm starting to see the shoots of these ivies. But he can't see him yet because he's not looking for him. And so, and I don't know why, again, being a twin probably does something to it, but like, it would just give me a little smirk. That's about the level that I want is like, okay, there's the ivy coming up, little smirk. What do you think? Is that too much?
What do you think? What do you think, Big Brother Jake, if he was in our third chair right now? What do you think he would say? And what do you think the look that he would give you right now would be?
I think he would be impressed and he would say, you should do that. No, I know I shouldn't do it. That's what people get.
That's tough. I don't like confrontation. So like I work very judiciously to avoid confrontation. Because when I get riled up, I get really riled up. And so I try to avoid those sort of circumstances. That has not happened to me in anything. It's funny because my wife and we've been talking about a dog. And my wife said the big reason that she doesn't want a good dog right now is because she doesn't want to have to deal with the dog having to use the facilities in somebody's front yard. And then you're standing there waiting and the person is looking out of their window just glaring at you. And you're like, I'm sorry, it's just a dog. Awkward. I can't really do anything about it,
It's awkward. But like I said, it's sort of the signed contract when you live in a...
Yeah, you just take care of your business.
That's what I wish when I think back on the argument, that's what I wish I would have said is like, if you want this pristine... experience where you don't have to deal with other people or other people's pets or anything, move. If you live in New York City, you're going to deal with a certain kind of thing, an upstairs neighbor, a downstairs neighbor. It's dumb to complain about those things if you choose to live there, because that's part of it.
This is amazing. This is amazing. I hope we bring back the petty corner of this podcast.
I think
And then
Lee's Petty Corner should be a segment.
I know, right? We get a check in. We can check in on your plant. We can look at the mannequin behind you, so that can be a segment. And then Lee's Petty Corner, I think would be great, where you just air grievances, and instead of acting upon your pettiness, you just come up with wild scenarios of things that you could do that you would never do. Douglas County Sheriff, you'd never.
Well, the other side of this coin really is. Or sort of a separate issue that I was talking to my wife about is that we went from literally just having a normal conversation with our dog. We're walking our dogs to me almost fighting someone. I swear that was 30 seconds.
Yeah, like that guy just blew up at you.
Yeah, like you just don't know when something like that's going to happen. And my son and his friend got in some confrontation too, where one of them got beat up by a 19-year-old. Not my son, thank God. The other kid did. Oh, wow. But that happened out of nowhere. And so we started talking about, like, should you walk around with like some bear spray or some kind of thing? Like, do you need self-defense in just your day-to-day life now? When something comes up like that, I mean, I could have fought him and that, however that would have ended, but I could have also sprayed him in the face, which is its own reward.
You go to jail for that too. I think what's challenging.
No, you don't. Not if you're getting attacked.
Sure, you are correct.
I wouldn't just spray him preemptively.
A guy walks out of his house and you just get this giant canister of bear spray at him. I think the world is a little bit on edge right now, right? Like, I think there's a lot of big worldly changes happening, and I think maybe we're feeling a little bit of that. Or there's also these trends on social media where, like, what are all of the videos that get attention on social media? It is just the drama and the confrontation ones.
It's true.
Our society is just becoming just a little bit more mean.
I like it.
Did you say you do like it?
I don't like it.
Oh,
no,
gosh,
I don't like that. But I don't. I mean, the idea that I should carry bear spray around for people when I am walking my dogs. But you also want to be prepared. I guess the whole crux of this point is how quickly that escalated from nothing to something was weird. It was unexpected.
We need to have a psychologist on sometime to talk about your feelings and behaviors.
Don't lie. Don't say that you never get into an argument like driving or.
No, I'm trying to look like the good person right now, man.
I didn't go out walking my dog looking for a confrontation. It came to me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do it. This guy came out of his house. I mean, I can't stress it enough. Already, like, full guns blazing, so to speak. Not literally, but
dude, I love the idea though that we're trying to paint you as like this person, but like you're like a 50-year-old skateboarder, snowboarder dude who's got a half pipe in his basement, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm
Spicoli. I'm a chill surfer guy. Look at my surfer hair. It's even starting to come out.
I did notice that it is flipped out of there.
It can't be contained.
Dude, I'm super jealous. Well, I can't grow hair, so that's a big problem. Well, thank you for joining us in Petty Corner today. So,
if you enjoyed Petty Corner, can you do an ivy emoji or like a little plant emoji on the YouTube? That would be good.
Or just give some ideas of some non-threatening pettiness. So some quick hits. So Lee has a watercolor course that is going to be launching super duper duper soon. How are people going to be able to access that, Lee?
The landing page is going live on SVSLEARN. We're filming this on February 21st. It should be live definitely by the time anyone is hearing this. So SVSLEARN.com. It is front and center. It starts either the first or second week of April. We're still locking that down. But if you go to the page, it'll say it on there at this point.
And then if you a 2-point perspective, so Lee and I get together every other Friday at SVSLEARN at 11 o'clock Mountain, 1 o'clock Eastern. We host an incredibly fun event called Freaky Friday. It's a draw-along event. It is incredibly well attended with people that are interested in drawing, having a super fun time, learning a little bit, and it's a regular every other Friday event that is just super cool. Today we're going to be drawing boats, so obviously you've missed today's unless you're signed up at SVSLEARN. But in the next couple of weeks, we're just going to have, like we've already done, we drew pirates one week, we drew outside stuff, castles, trees, houses, things like that. We did plants with personality. So we change this theming up every 2 weeks, and it's really fun. And obviously he and I have a very fun time doing it. So is there anything else that's coming up that we need to talk about?
Jake's graphic novel Pro will be out
Yeah.
pretty soon. I don't know the total details of that, but check svslearn.com to learn more if you're into graphic novels. Jake and another artist, I can't remember who it is
Sean
actually.
Crystal.
Right. They're
Yeah,
doing a
and
deep
he's
dive.
a massive comic book professional, and he has taught comics, graphic novel, sequential art for years. I mean, this guy is a pro's pro.
Yep, really good stuff. And that's going to be a 10-week, like super deep dive into graphic novels, and of course, it's for somebody who says, "Hey, I may want to do this for a living," and how to do that, and a deep dive. So check that out for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening over at SVS Learn. Lee and I, along with the team, Will and Jake and Sam and David and everybody else, we are posting in there every single day, checking all the comments, reading all the comments, acknowledging everybody who's joining and signing up. It's really cool. It's just super duper duper cool. So you got to go check that out. I'm going to go ahead and take us out. Let's see here. 2-Point Perspective is made possible by svslearn.com, where becoming a great illustrator starts. Your hosts have been me, Anthony Wheeler, and the petty one, Lee White. The podcast has been produced by Daniel Tu. Special thanks to team manager Preston Smith, keeper of the curriculum Austin Shirtliff, the show notes wrangler Lily Howell, chief operations officer Lisa Fott. I got stuck there. I thought, not fought. And then our illustrator has been Annalise Black. Now, Lee, how about you and I? Let's go draw something.
Go draw something.